Welcome to the D-Shift podcast, where we provide inspiration, motivation, and education to help you transition from the challenges of divorce to discover the freedom and ability to live life on your own terms. Are you ready? Let's get this shift started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the D-Shift podcast. And today I'm going to talk to somebody who is, oh my gosh, I can't even believe she agreed to be on here. She is just such a phenomenal human being. She's got all these things going for her and all of these things that she's doing in the world that is something I think all of us aspire to do. So I want to introduce you to Anisa Palmer, and I want to make sure I get all this wonderful information about her. So I'm going to read off my little cue card here. Anisa is a combat veteran. She's done two tours of duty in Iraq, and thank you for your service. She is an author. She is a social impact leader, and she's dedicated to health equity and community empowerment, and particularly health equity with underserved and under provided for communities and groups. She has created the I Will Survive Foundation in 2012, inspired by the loss of her mother to breast cancer. And Anisa and I were just speaking. I lost my mother to cancer many, many years ago, not breast cancer, but how devastating this disease can be. And she is also the CEO of the Palmer Firm Group, which is a veteran-owned consultancy service offering coaching and other services. So Anisa, see what I say? You're just such a wonderful human being. Thank you so much for being here today.
Marty, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to serve within my community.
Well, I mean, like I say, I think that you're one of those aspirational people, inspirational, aspirational people. So let's talk a little bit, Anisa, about what kind of your life story and what got you into this, so passionate for serving others.
Absolutely. Marty, it started really as a young girl. Being an older sibling too, I think helps when you're serving your younger siblings, if you will, teaching them how to tie their shoes. So that kind of starts. My dad was an entrepreneur, and so watching him kind of serve the community, if you will, through entrepreneurship. And so after his car accident, really seeing him in the way that he treated your average person on the street, some even unhoused, and he would always greet them with calling them boss. You know, good morning, boss. How are you doing, boss? And I was like, wow, it just hit with me as a young child. And the way my mother moved in the community as a multidisciplinary artist and just really a servant leader before I even knew what servant leadership was. When she battled, her bout with cancer, she would sing and play piano for other folks that are sick, and just seeing that, not even knowing what cancer was at a young age, I said, wow, this is like kind of deep rooted within my family, and planted some seeds really, really that kind of set the tone. I think it really blossomed when I joined the military. And I thought, kind of a little naive as a young 20-year-old, thinking I'm going to join something like the Peace Corps. That's really what I kind of thought what the Army was and the military. And I'm going to go around the world helping people. And I did some of that, but definitely not the Peace Corps.
Yeah. That, I mean, and I know you're still partly telling your story, but that's got to be a real cultural shock, even going from civilian life to military life. I'm assuming it must have been difficult to adjust.
Oh, absolutely. Completely difficult. And even I say, with my unit, with Military Intelligence Unit, 82nd Airborne Division, deploying every other year. And in that space, we were just transitioning from 15-month deployments to 12-month deployments. And just even coming off a deployment, not alone, separating from the military completely and becoming a civilian again, just all those various stages of learning how to adapt and maneuver between the various stages that I had to go through.
Yeah. So after you got out of the military, you've still felt this desire to serve others. Tell us a little bit about that part of your story, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. No, absolutely. It was my second tour in Iraq, actually, and full battle rattle, and I'm seeing a mirage of my dear mother. Various soldiers will have different mirages that you'll see. Sometimes it's just water because you're so dehydrated at times, or just safety. And so for me, it was seeing my mom in a place that I've never seen her before. And I used to carry this picture of her in my pocket in my uniform just to always keep her close by. And so I was like, okay, am I seeing things? Is this, what kind of mirage is this? And I felt at that moment God was giving me a message to serve in a different way. I thought I would retire in the military. Well, I did not, and immediately got out, did some research. Between Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama had the highest mortality rates of breast cancer at the time. My mom succumbed to breast cancer at 38 years young, and so I said, okay, I have to do something. Is it young women who's battling this? Is it, what is it really? And so just kind of really going in the community and seeing what the community needed at the time, trying to figure out what kind of pain point we could solve with our founding board. And it was really sometimes just going to survivors and patients and kind of switching the vocabulary there. Like, why are we calling them patients? Let's call them survivors early on, right? So having that mindset shift initially, and then just being able to listen. What
Yeah.
does having someone there to listen look like? And so that was initially what we started doing. And then it grew to getting food to families, to paying with housing and rental payments, and then getting survivors and, to appointments. And then it just kept growing into more kind of wraparound service for families, disadvantaged families impacted with breast cancer.
What a powerful thing. And so are you partnered with like the American Cancer Society, or do you work separately or in conjunction, or how does that work?
Great question, Marty. We initially started as the only prevention organization in 2010. We're kind of just wasn't really a language that was around, much, if you will. And so fast forward 2014 with the expansion of Affordable Care Act, we saw preventative services now covered, breast cancer screening is covered in insurance. And so I initially thought we would partner with everybody. To this date, we're in the database of American Cancer Society. Not a strong partnership, if you will. So we get referrals from clients who need, social and human services, other smaller organizations that we might help and partner with when it comes to, again, resources, being that that support, if you will. We have a mentoring program now where we partner and just really kind of those who are newly diagnosed to those who've survived and thrived to kind of get through the finish line together.
Yeah.
Also a mental health support. We have some really great partners who help us, licensed therapists who are in Florida, Georgia, California, and Tennessee. And so that really kind of helps the families. And one new mental health partner that we just started with this year that we're so really grateful to have this partnership is not only is the person impacted with cancer get services pro bono, but now their families get that service. Because we know in the military, when someone served, everyone served. But also the same thing goes with cancer, right? When someone's diagnosed with cancer, the whole family is dealing with something, as the caregivers who are enduring some of that as well. And so we want to make sure that the entire family is taken care of with the
Yeah.
mental health.
Oh, that is so helpful because, you are right. It doesn't seem to matter what the condition is. And like you say, whether it's work related or whether it's health related or whether it's going through a divorce, it's not just the two people or the one person directly involved. It's the people on the sidelines, I call them, but they're not really on the sidelines, especially if you're supporting a friend or family member that's dealing with a breast cancer diagnosis. I have not had cancer, and I am so thankful for that. And it's not because I knew the healthy lifestyle choices when I was 20 I needed to start making. I mean, I probably did everything that I shouldn't have been doing, but I can't believe the number of appointments and treatments and medication and days off work and, just the emotional and mental strain on not only the person going through the treatment, but like you say, the other family members as well. It's really, until your family has gone through it, it's really almost difficult to even comprehend the level of that. I'm just going to say that whole drain, financial, emotional, mental, spiritual, everything. It just gets drained, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, Marty. And I'll tell you too, it's one, just even you sharing that, it takes me back to certain stories of families that we've helped along the way. And we had one just last year who, while battling just diagnosed, husband left. And so this young woman now is not only having to deal with all the drains that you listed, but now it's, how do I do this by myself? You
Right.
know, 5 children in the house. And it hit home because my mom had 5 children when she was battling. And I couldn't fathom if my father left, what that would look like.
Yeah.
And so grateful, right? But it's like, man, my heart really goes to these families that we're blessed and honored to serve and support. But it just breaks my heart when we
Yeah.
have this.
Yeah. I'll never forget. I was teaching the 4-hour mandatory co-parenting program that's required in many states for parents who are divorcing with children. And a woman came in and she had literally just had a double mastectomy. She still had the drainage devices on her. And she came in and she said, look, is there any way that I can sit in the back of the room because I don't want everybody staring at me? And I was just, first of all, my heart went out to her dealing with this. But then to think in all of this, now she's going through a divorce and she's still making it to all of these court ordered things, and I was just, I guess that really was an emotional moment for me. And I'm sure there's lots of women that are going through other health issues and I just wasn't as aware of them, but hers was very visual, with all the different drainage stuff she had on and everything else. And she had literally just got out of the hospital the day before, I think it was. So quite amazing.
Resilient. Oof.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
So I know that, and even though I created the segue, I think it works okay. It wasn't planned, it just worked out. I know one of the things that you really work with people on is how to take those kind of rock bottom pain moments and really turn that into a sense of purpose, like you have done with your life. Can talk a little bit on that if you wouldn't mind.
I love talking about this, Marty. You know, we had a young lady in her 30s diagnosed stage 3, a 7-year-old. And so we focus on kind of the coaching, when someone's diagnosed and they come out to us. So it's not just, you get a direct support of and here's some food or here's some nutrition or here's a rental payment for housing. Where are you and where would you like to be post-cancer? So they can visualize it. And so this young lady came to us and said, I want to be an author. I want to write a children's book, in honor of my son, 7 years old at the time. He's 15 now. She's a 2-time author. And so it was like carrying her across the finish line of, at one point she's like, I'm not going to beat this. I can't do this. I can I write you? And she came to me personally. Can I write you in my will to take care of my son when I die? So we can't think like that. We have to stop. We have to focus on beating this because you can do this, right? But it starts here, in the mind. And so once she got out of that negative space and thinking she wasn't going to make it and it's not going to be here, she went through some of the dark spots of cancer spreading, metastasized to her bones. She ended up having blood clots. It was just one of the horror stories of the families that we helped. But blood clots cleared. She had to do a lot of overnight stays, in her treatments in the hospital. And I remember at the time because we had a very, very small staff. And it's like, okay, you know what? You don't have any family around. Both of her parents deceased, brother deceased, a husband not there, domestic violence she got out of. And I said, I will personally pick up your son from school. And we brought him into the office, helped him with homework. But today he's 15. She's a 2-time author. And I want to circle back to that because it's just, she's not only thrived and beat cancer, but she got to accomplish a dream from turning that pain into purpose of being not just a 1-time, but a 2-time author of 2 children's books now.
Yay!
Yeah.
That, you hear stories like that and you think, how did that person do it? But I really think what you just said, Anisa, is so critical. You have to believe that you have the ability, you have the internal capacity to work through this. And even though it may be a health issue, it's interesting. My husband passed away in 2017, but he had a stroke in 2011, in January of 2011. And I hate to say this, but he just kind of quit. He was non-ambulatory, didn't have much speech. And even after like 6 months of very intensive therapy, still nothing was coming back to him. And he really just kind of, especially the last year, just really gave up on things. And then I saw other people that were on the stroke unit that fought every day, that went to the therapy rooms like extra time, that were, that asked for weights to have in their room to keep working out. And those people, maybe they didn't get all their physical strength back, but their mental strength came back and they were able to still find ways to enjoy their life. And I think that's a really big difference in getting through any kind of challenge. I don't know if you'd agree with that or not, but
I agree 100%. I'm sharing one success story, but for every good, there's the kind of the not so great, right? So we had one young lady who 64, diagnosed. We were probably 3 years old at the time, and her husband died 13 years prior. She had a grown daughter, so she didn't feel that kind of sense of, I have to be here. She was ready to go. When she was diagnosed, she did nothing for a year.
right.
Her cancer spread, and she just, was like, okay, I'm really ready to go. I remember she was on the oxygen tank and hospice, and they sent her home, and her daughter called me, came to the home, held her hand maybe for 20 minutes, and she kind of had that smile on her face as if I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to let you know, as an organization, that you don't have to fight with me because I've already clocked out of here. I left the house. 20 minutes later, her daughter called me and said she's gone, and I'd like you to attend the service. So yeah, I agree with you. Some people just, if you're out mentally, you're gone.
Yeah. And I think and I know that, I hope you don't mind me saying, well, maybe I shouldn't say this. You have had your own journey in making a life transition in your relationship. Can we talk about that? Is that all right?
Sure, absolutely.
I hate to I should check with people before I get on these calls, right? They just, oh, by the way. But I know that most of the listeners here are women. So I'm almost 100% sure, Anisa, that at least they've had, if not a friend or a family member, at least somebody within their community that has gone through breast cancer. I think most women, the older we get, the more likely we are to know multiple people in our lives that have come through this horrible disease. But also, women that have gone through divorce have it's not necessarily a health challenge, but it is an emotional and a spiritual and a mental challenge to get, and financial and everything else, right? And you've actually had to navigate this yourself.
Marty, what's so wild and bizarre is, which I haven't had a doctor tell me how this even happened, but I'll tell you, when the chaos, if you will, was in my home, my plant started dying. I remember having to see a lactate specialist because I'm nursing my newborn at the time, and everything was just so dark. And I'm trying not to go in postpartum depression right after just having a child. The trauma was just so bad, and once abuse, I had to leave. Definitely therapy, I think, for one, helped me in that space. Okay, it's shifting to, like, I have a child, I'm running a organization, serving the community. I have to kind of have it together. But having safe spaces to release, I think, really helped. But in that transition space, I think too, it's like, okay, grieving my marriage. I didn't know, I didn't plan, I had no idea. And then showing up to court and doing all the things. But Marty, in all of that, I felt a lump in my breast. And I remember at my mammogram, after I completed, nursing, when the milk ducts cleared, and I remember my doctor telling me, we need you to come back in for some extra testing. And I'm like, Lord, not now. I can't have it. I can't go through this after I just went through divorce and, being a new mom and all the things. And the organization was taking a hit. With one of our staff members who wasn't fundraising, and it just was a horrible space. Go back in for the next appointment. And I just remember going like kind of vegan, plant-based kind of diet, and wasn't drinking alcohol still, stopped caffeine, I think. And once I remember my therapist had me see another therapist, she was retiring, and just started doing kind of my breath work, meditation, back in my exercising. And I remember going back for my next appointment and there was no lump. The false positive turned into nothing.
Right.
And I said, thank you, God.
Yeah.
I remember going to even do lymphatic massages and just extra drainage and just doing all the things I thought I needed to do to clear whatever might have been there or might have been growing or started to grow, or even if it was just a cyst or something, but it just was, everything was gone.
Right.
Thank
Well,
you, God.
thank goodness. Yeah. I mean, and I've heard actually, I've heard women say that they've had one of those, scares or false positives, and that they have never gone for another test after that because they're just like, I don't want to deal with that anymore. I can't live through another 2 weeks or whatever the time period is. But um, I want to, and I wish we could talk for a lot longer. It's amazing how fast the time goes on these calls. But I do want to touch base because I think it's really important, your message and getting education out there and what you do. Anisa, you have offered an amazing resource for women listening in, or men, because I read the page. It's got some stuff for men on there as well. Can you talk a little bit about that resource that you're offering?
Absolutely. So we have some great medical experts who have helped us along the years to provide additional resources and education, and even small things like anti-cancerous foods to stay away from. And even American Cancer Society will have some of these things, carcinogens or cancer-causing things, on their website. And so we have a list of those things. We have additional resources to help. We have resource groups, support groups. And so it's a wealth of support on this website for not just someone who's impacted or battling, but also some resources and support for caregivers as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what I mean. I read through it. There's extensive stuff, and there's some of the foods that your article recommended, or your bullet points had recommended, like kale being such a great anti-cancer food. And I'm like, yay! I love kale. I have kale a couple of times a week, and I didn't even know it was. I mean, I knew it was good for you, but I didn't know it was that good for you. And I think, like as research catches up to the whole idea of nutrition being really a type of medicine, preventative medicine, right? I think we're getting better at this. Well, at least those of us that are paying attention are getting better, and it's never too late to start making small changes in your diet.
Absolutely agree. We have a doctor who has like a meatless Mondays, and it's not 100% giving up meat, right? Because World Health Organization did release processed meats increase risk for breast cancer and other cancers. Maybe don't eliminate it completely, but a start, like you said. So that's really great.
Yeah, and I'm my little soapbox is just don't eat processed foods. Like I interviewed a lady who talks about what she calls the one ingredient diet, where you can combine any foods you want, but each food can only have one ingredient on the label. So like a carrot is a carrot, a chicken breast is a chicken breast, but you don't want to then put breading on it because bread has more than one ingredient in it. So it's kind of a cool way to think about things. As long as everything is only its own ingredient, you're okay with it. Obviously there's exceptions to that, but you know what I mean.
Of course.
So thank you so much for sharing this. And I like I say, there's a wealth of information on that website. And Anisa, I know you would be an expert to talk about a lot of other topics. And I'm sorry we have to almost limit the time because it's been fascinating. If people do want to reach out, find out more about your organization, maybe donate, because I'm assuming you accept donations, or maybe reach out and see if they could volunteer with your organization or do something. Or maybe they have a friend or family member that has cancer and is trying to deal with it and would like some more resources. All of those things. How can they reach out to you, or how can they get and find out more about your organization?
Absolutely. Visiting our website is number one go-to. iwillsurviveinc.org. Folks can get involved, even if it's applying for internships or even sponsoring an internship through our program as well.
Oh, wonderful. And so, like you said, sometimes just getting out there and doing something different, like your mom did, supporting other people who are dealing with challenges in life is a great way to do this. And obviously something that you've lived your life doing. So, Anisa, thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much for being on here and for sharing all this expertise and wisdom.
Thank you so much, Marty, for having me. It's been a joy.
Well, it's been my pleasure, trust me, honestly. And I want to thank everybody for listening in today. And this is a really important topic. I'm just going to throw it in there, make sure that you're getting regular checkups and tests, doing all that good stuff. And if you do want to donate, participate, share, get resources, make sure you're reaching out to I Will Survive. Thank you so much. And don't forget to listen in to next week's episode. Thanks for listening and supporting the D-Shift podcast. If you would like to attend live trainings by our amazing guests and have a chance to ask questions and get answers from our experts, join the D-Shift crew. For more details and to sign up, head on over to www.divorcecoachforwomen and click on the podcast page.